A burglar sneaks into a home, unaware that his every move is being watched. Another robber, confidently stepping into a restaurant, has no clue that a tactical squad is seconds away from making his day unforgettable. From botched getaways to a hilarious failed heist where a thief locks himself in, the moments of instant karma unravel faster than these criminals can react. It's not just about the heists themselves, but the unexpected twists that turn their plans upside down. What could possibly go wrong? Well, stick around and find out. Number 1. Stopped in his tracks. A homeowner has noticed that there was a burglar at his home. He quickly retreated to the basement, from where he managed to call the cops. While waiting for them, he had the opportunity to watch as this person was ravaging their home. Luckily, cops wasted no time, and they quickly got to the scene and realized that the robber was still in the house. They even had time to surround the house and make sure that he couldn't get away, since they monitored all the exits. As you may guess, this was a preparation for a great surprise for the robber, who was caught off guard and had no chance to escape. This is why cops managed to do a quick job of putting cuffs on the man and apprehending him. You know what makes the whole thing even funnier? It wasn't even the first time this guy showed up at the property. 2 weeks before the arrest that we just witnessed, he actually tried to rob the place once before. Number 2. Stopped with a push of a button. Sometimes all it takes to stop a robber in his tracks is but a push of a button. This clerk was alert enough to notice when a dude who was carrying some drinks decided to try and escape without paying for it. Simply pushing down the button that locks the door, she thwarts his efforts, leaving him ashamed and without a choice but to retrieve the stolen goods and go about his day empty-handed. Number 3. Fell right into the cops' hands. Observe this hilarious situation that occurred at Costco. A loss prevention officer was doing his job faithfully, and he noticed suspicious behavior from 2 people. He realized that these were aiming to steal anything they could find, and not just that, but they also wanted to make their targets worth their while. Stealing technology worth over $2,000, these thieves were about to make a grand escape, but there was a hidden surprise waiting for them outside. The cops had plenty of time to establish their position to better apprehend the thieves as soon as they came out the door. And truly, just a few moments later, they literally jumped into the officers' hands. Of course, we have to blur their faces, but rest assured, cops got to see them up close. Number 4. Robbers with an appetite. While things are escalating at this place, and one of the thieves is looking for a way to disable the electronics, the other one jumped over the counter and they quickly commenced their robbery. However, what they had no idea about was that a whole tactical group was about to enter the place and show them why thievery wasn't a great idea. Even though these 2 robbers probably thought it would end in success, considering how easily they got the money. Just a few seconds later, the entrance door opens just as one of them is hilariously acting as if he has a weapon. Well, once the time for jokes was over, 2 robbers fell one over the other onto the floor and were made to surrender immediately. One must say, it is very enjoyable to see such a swift delivery of karma. Once they have secured the 2 robbers, the rest of the group moves in and makes sure no unpleasant surprises are left behind or another of their accomplices. Number 5. The thief had to be rescued. We could probably never manage to understand why and how some thieves choose their targets. This one has decided that electric cables are a valuable thing to steal, even if it could get you in a world of trouble. Well, he essentially created a trap for himself by ending up stuck right on an AC unit of a hotel. If that move itself wasn't funny enough, Imagine how slowly the time moved for him, considering he was stuck there for more than 2 days. Cops, drones, and truly anyone walking by had the chance to observe the instant karma and misfortune this robber has drawn upon himself. He even had to stretch a lot to avoid getting sores and be fed through the mercy of cops who finally had to lasso the man in like the cowboys of old. Embarrassed much, fella? Let's hope that's a good lesson for you. Number 6. See how it feels to be boxed in. Even with the support of the police, sometimes store owners have to take matters into their own hands. Considering that this one had his place visited by the same robber multiple times, he decided to treat him as the pest that he truly was. So what this awesome dude did was create a perfect box to trap him in, which is essentially the entire store. The owner removed all the valuables, so this dude couldn't get away with anything. And by entering the hallway, he actually made things worse for himself. He forgot to hold the door, and they locked behind him, so he is left there with no way out. If there ever was a well-prepared robber, he would probably look exactly the opposite of this guy, who even had to use the lighter to find the light switch. He spent quite some time desperately trying to kick some doors down or break the glass, and when he finally succeeded, he discovered that the door he pried open actually led to another room with no exit. After tiring himself out and making a mess everywhere, he had no choice but to sit tight and wait for the cops to pick him up. Number 7. Scared off with a bang. The owner of this truck has had enough of people breaking into it and stealing stuff. Those who came previously have made the bed that this thief will have to sleep in. As soon as he hops into the guy's truck, an explosive booby trap goes off right in his face, scaring him off. Number 8. Shopkeeper trapped a thief. This dude came in quite confident that this robbery would go without a hitch. He is clearly well prepared considering he has hidden his face and actually even used gloves to cover fingerprints and brought a knife to threaten the worker. But none of this can help him when the guy behind the counter decides to turn the tables on him. He walks out of the store and activates the roller shutter, which is usually a way to prevent people from entering and not keeping them in. Still, this guy managed to almost decapitate the thief using it. But since he didn't want to turn this into a bloody crime, he just pinched the guy strongly enough so he couldn't escape, and he had to wait for the cops to show up in this position. Number 9. Not the brightest idea. The next guy whose attempted theft we will examine didn't even need someone's help to trap himself. He was fairly determined to push through the security gate that was placed there to prevent exactly these sorts of things. Since he decided not to be stopped by it, he fought this obstruction for a while before he managed to slip under it. Once he was in, he quickly grabbed anything he could get, but by this time, the security system had already given the owner a notice of what was going on, and she was able to observe it through a security camera. Realizing the jig was up, this fellow tried to escape the same way he entered, by either jumping over the fence or slipping under it. But since neither worked, he had to idly sit there and wait to be discovered and caught by cops who in the end actually had to help him slip under the fence. Number 10. Stuck on a wall. This dude wasn't even able to jump over a wall, which was the first obstacle he had to go through to get to the goods he was trying to steal. Well, considering his inability to do so, he was caught by these people as he was in the middle of his efforts. Should have stretched first, guy. Number 11. Hidden in plain sight. Here's another quick and hilarious turn of events. Even before the thief got in the car, we noticed there was a police vehicle in the back. Then an armed and masked robber gets in the cab and starts screaming threats at the driver. Just a second later, We see cops starting the rotation and slowly walking towards the cab, arresting the thief immediately. Number 12, beaten by a fence. Sometimes there's even no need to put any special kind of security feature to catch a thief. Instant karma may actually do it for us, as it happened in this case when a dude tried to pry the entrance fence open, but in doing so, he forgot the basic physics that says things can't just hang in the air and they may squish you when they fall. You should have stayed in school, bro. It could have saved you that leg injury. Number 13, automatic light security feature. As if being a trained kickboxer wasn't providing enough safety, this homeowner installed a camera and an automatically triggered light so his cars and goods would be safe. It seems that these features work pretty well, since one of the thieves tried to steal everything he could find in his vehicle, but the homeowner noticed it and ran out literally in his underpants, fearless nonetheless. He managed to catch the guy and pound the lesson into his flesh. Even the homeowner's partner showed up to observe the spectacle and record everything that happened to the poor thief who experienced instant karma. Number 14. That must have hurt. If you find the two fellas that are walking up to the vehicle suspicious, you are spot on. These two wanted to get into the vehicle and probably steal some of the valuable parts. Their grand plan was to crawl under it and, using power tools, literally pull apart the car from below and steal anything that could be worth their while. What they didn't account for was that there would be a very angry homeowner in the house who got alerted by all the noise that they made and decided to teach them a lesson. He pulled out a paintball gun and went into battle. Supported by his mate, they shoot out quite a lot of color toward the thieves who had to run away, probably feeling a deserved amount of pain and itching. Number 15. Locked in. In Florida, there was a guy who browsed through the store for about 30 minutes, causing all sorts of suspicion among the workers. They acted in time and locked the door without him noticing, which is how he ended up getting stuck inside when he tried to run with a few items that he could grab. Look how dumb this guy feels that he actually pulled out his phone, pretending as if nothing had happened, but seeing as no one was buying this hilarious bluff, he proceeded to try and kick the door open. Since they didn't want to be stuck in there with this crazy fella, the workers wanted to let him go, but he got back, pushed through the embarrassment, and grabbed the things before escaping. Number 16. A simple but effective security feature. Now here's an instant karma that we will enjoy seeing. A dude wearing a hoodie here is pretending to be interested in buying a phone and acting as if he can't decide which model to pick. The guys behind the counter realize that he's suspicious, but they don't want to overreact, so they play along with his idea. He then shows interest in one of the models, and as soon as the worker pulls it out to show it to the guy, who we can clearly see has already shown his face to the camera, he pretends to look at the model before. Out of nowhere, he started running with the two phones he managed to take. This turned into just an unpleasant stare-down since the doors were locked by a security feature, and the guy immediately realized he had been trapped. Not only did he fail, but he was also stuck there, having to listen to any lesson the clerks had for him. Number 17. Got stuck and nearly crushed. The guy whose misfortune we're about to observe has clearly been watching the garage and tried to sneak in as soon as the owner left on his scooter. The guy tried to slide below the gate as it was closing, but his timing was slightly off, which nearly caused him to lose his entire foot. Look how helplessly he is stuck when the gate crushes his leg, pinching it just enough to render him unable to escape. If that isn't a proper mousetrap, we don't know what is. Even though he tried to pull his leg out, he couldn't do so, so he did the only thing he could, which was lying down and waiting for the cops to show up and take him to jail in the morning. Number 18. A proper welcome. Some homeowners prefer to have safety strapped onto their belts. This is definitely the case for this homeowner who was about to be violently robbed by 4 guys when motion sensors alerted him of it. This gave him enough time to arm himself and send the thieves running with a few warning shots. Number 19. Caught in a weird act. Here is a weird case. The thief in this one approaches the dude from the back, and as a warning, for reasons that are beyond us, he takes off his shirt, preparing to start a fight. Then again, doesn't that seem a bit silly? Well, apparently not to him, who proceeds to go through the man's pockets and steal some change that he had there. But just a few seconds later, a cop reacts to the cries for help that the victim was sending out and apprehends the crazy fella who is standing there shirtless, acting innocent. Luckily, he showed to be reasonable enough to understand that there's no fooling around with the cop. Number 20. Get out from under there. Imagine being a cop who shows up at the scene just to find a dude lying below a vehicle. Not knowing what this was about, but ready to acquire some answers, he demands for the fella to immediately get out from under there. The guy complies, saying it isn't his truck that he's lying below, but it is one from someone he knows. We had to blur his face and protect his identity, which we assure you is that of a thief. Want to hear an explanation of what he is doing? Well, here it is. To sum it up, someone took parts from his vehicle, so he decided to replace them with someone else's, and even refused to put them down when asked by the cop, so he had to be put under arrest. Being the crazy thief that he is, the guy struggled and even said that America would be burned very soon. Well, so will his story that cops found out was entirely untrue, and the fella was just stealing parts from someone else's vehicle. Nice try though, weird dude. Number 21. What was your plan even? There are bad ideas, and then there are really bad ideas. Look at what this guy thought was the trick for stealing cash from an ATM. He just took a water bottle and poured it down one of these machines after he inserted a card into it. What was the guy's thinking process, we can't really say, but funny enough, he repeatedly attempted this and broke down quite a few ATMs, earning himself just the punishment, but none of the money. Number 22. Jewelry security system. The guy in the blue is obviously preparing to do something unpredictable in a jewelry store. He put on his gloves leisurely, then proceeded to attack the worker behind the counter. As soon as he grabbed a hold of her, 2 more dudes showed up and started stealing everything they could get their hands on. The woman was helpless and tried to run to the back, and it was then that the security feature kicked in and the doors were locked. In their confusion, the 2 additional dudes tried to pry them open, but while one of them was pushing, the other one tried to slam through it, and as he was running next to the camera, he revealed his neck tattoo, which is how he was identified, and the group was brought down. After one of them managed to leave, they discovered the button that needed to be pressed for the door to be unlocked briefly. While the guy in the blue managed to release his dudes with ease, we can see that panic got a hold of him when he realized he couldn't leave without assistance, which unfortunately came from an unsuspecting bystander. Number 23. A thief and a comedian. Oh, the cosmic justice is strong with this one. A guy was trying to steal a car, but he got stuck inside it, and multiple people showed up making sure he couldn't escape before the cops came. Look at the fear on the thief's face as he realizes that there's no way out, that he will just have to wait there until he is taken over by the cops, and that he will even have to take all the puns and jokes that the surrounding civilians may come up with in the meantime. Look at that broad smile on the face of the car owner as he is observing the wannabe thief still hopelessly going through the car's compartments. If you're wondering, what is it that brought these people joy, besides the obvious instant karma justice, it's that this dude is being controlled by a press of a button. The car owner is actually just holding the one that locks the door, and this dude has nowhere to go. Number 24. When the hunter becomes the prey. Sometimes robbers underestimate the people that they're planning to attack. This is precisely what happened in this case when a lady was parking in front of her home and noticed a suspicious car driving in and trying to block her way out. A few armed fellows then jumped out of the vehicle and tried to threaten the woman and make her leave her car. Knowing that this wasn't going to do her any good, the woman refused and decided to pull off this crazy stunt. She put it in reverse and pushed their car all the way onto the street with a few hits of her vehicle. Not wanting to risk it and get stuck again, she decided that driving away was the best solution, but not before heavily damaging their car and seriously threatening these fellows' safety. Off they went, running, but as we will soon see, they didn't manage to get very far. Number 25. Fastest crime prevention ever. There is a right time and a right place for things. This thief had failed at both of these aspects, considering he was about to enter someone's home and steal anything he could get his hands on. Isn't that a worrisome sign that should have told him that even if he managed to get inside, he could have found plenty of trouble? In the end, some robbers find themselves stuck, trapped, or hilariously outwitted by their own bad decisions. Karma, it seems, has a sense of humor. Whether it's a thief caught by a fence or one outsmarted by a simple door lock, their plans often crumble in the funniest ways. But hey, that's the beauty of watching instant karma at work. We hope you enjoyed the content that we prepared for you today. Thank you for watching.